Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Amin Qadir Sayed. I am the editor for Manufacturing Today magazine. On behalf of ITP Media and Manufacturing Today and also our partner today's event, Markforged, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you for today's webinar, How 3D Printing is Disrupting Manufacturing. Just to introduce our company, ITP Media, we are an international company. We're headquartered in Dubai and we publish more than 100 weekly and monthly magazines. And we have a wide portfolio of market-leading digital properties. We also organize more than 100 business and consumer events and conferences globally every year. As you know, this is being done under the Manufacturing Today magazine banner. So Manufacturing Today magazine is actually focuses on people, process and technology for SME and large manufacturing companies. To talk about today's topic, which is 3D printing or additive manufacturing, as you are aware, manufacturing industry is now at the forefront of embracing and implementing new technology, and 3D printing is one of them. This is one of the technology fast catching up in India, and there are a lot of misconceptions, a lot of queries, a lot of information that people are looking for. That's the reason we are organizing this webinar. So to discuss this topic in detail, I would like to welcome all our esteemed panelists who come from varied industries with great level of experience and expertise in their respective fields. So please join me to welcome our first panelist, Mr. Surendra M. Vaidya, who is the Executive Vice President and Business Head at Godrej Aerospace. Mr. Vaidya holds BTech in Meteorology from IIT Powai. He set up the aerospace business for Godrej and Boyce, which is now a trusted supplier of critical component and assemblies for the leading aerospace companies like Boeing, Airbus, Safran, GE, and Rafale, to name a few. Second panelist for today's event is Mr. Vikas Mishra, who is joining shortly. He's the chairman of Rafe MFIR Private Limited. Mr.'s company has been developing several patent pending technologies in the area of carbon fiber composites, advanced material, pre-preg technology, and biomedics. Due to his research and development, the UAVs that we are having today have been developed by Rafe are very light in weight and they possess the optimal properties. Our third guest for today's event is Mr. Vilas Pujari, CIO at ACG Worldwide. Mr. Pujari is a seasoned C-suite IT professional in the manufacturing domain. He has over 30 years of experience in IT, ERP. His career spans across Gujarat, Ambuja Cement, Grasim, HDC to Tata International. He has been involved with multiple cycles of SAP implementation, CRM, SRM, SCM, and is now working on IT, OT integration, digital transformation, and IT strategy. Also, please welcome our another panelist for today's event, Mr. Shankar Ghosh, who is joining from Jamshedpur. He's the GM Plant Engineering at RSB Group. Mr. Ghosh is a qualified engineer with more than 30 years of versatile experience in execution of heavy engineering projects across RSB's 11 plants pan-India. His experience in allied fields includes erection and commissioning of plants, infrastructure projects from start to finish, state-of-the-art latest CNC machines, peripheral procurement and commissioning. He has been implementing Industry 4.0 and other technical things for the company to run their plant smooth. Please also welcome me to join. Please also welcome me to. Please welcome Mr. Anuj Budhiraja, who is the country manager India, Markforged. He is working with various other companies. Over the last 5 years, he was the regional manager, regional head of managing sales in North for Stratsys. He has over 19 years of experience in driving sustainable growth in manufacturing industries. And from the last 6 years in additive manufacturing, he plays a key role in empowering companies to take advantage of additive manufacturing to break through design, manufacturing, and business barriers. So welcome all of you gentlemen, all our panelists for today's event. We also have to welcome our moderator for today's event, Mr. Neeraj Singh. He's the director at KPMG India. Mr. Singh is a management consultant and who is proficient in new and emerging technology in IoT, Industry 4.0, data analytics. He has a professional career spanning over 19 years and has worked with marquee customers across Asia, Europe, and the US. So he brings along with him point of views of leading global customers across IM, CPG, and retail. He has been working with multiple Fortune 500 companies on digital and technology strategies. Welcome, Mr. Singh. for today's event. So with this, I hand over to the proceedings of today's event to Mr. Singh, who is the moderator, and he will take this forward.
So thank you, Mr. Amin Sayed, and thank you, ITP Media, for this opportunity. A very good morning to all of you. It's my pleasure to be here, interacting with veterans like yourself, and I looked at this opportunity as a good learning experience for myself as well. I mean, this is a very apt topic. I think 3D printing. I think this is while 3D printing has been there, it's not such a new concept that nobody would have heard about it. 3D printing has been there since maybe 1984 when Charles Hull founded it. Basically, founded a process by which 3D three-dimensional objects can be printed using digital data. So it's not a because this is 2021 and this happened in 1984. So it is still not as new a product, but I think what is happening is what we see with this digital transformation and digital age coming into what do you say force at this point of time. 3D printing fundamentally has a very great impact, and has the potential of the impact for the next few, maybe 10, 20, 30 years, than just those innovations which might happen in, say, producing new products or innovations or in the industrial scheme or whatever. So 3D printing itself has such a great potential to kind of transform the way industry would work, basically bringing innovations, right? And because 3D printing allows users to develop and revise those new products or innovations, quite rapidly, what it does is basically, it reduces the undertaking costs quite significantly, right, as compared to a traditional manufacturing process. And the application of 3D printing is quite really vast. It's no longer just a concept or a model. It has gone into complete manufacturing. It has gone into end user products. It has gone into jigs and fixtures and everything, right? That's where I think it has really gone into. It has started maybe with aerospace, but I think today, I think be it aerospace, be it medical devices, or be it even industrial manufacturing, I think it's there, prevalent everywhere, right? And while I think 3D printing has gradually been becoming accessible, because I think it was not so accessible because of the prices and all of those things. But now I think it's gradually becoming accessible, and that is also fueling innovation across the different diverse range of industries. And hence, I think the process of additive manufacturing is just really disrupting. Is just causing industry disruptions, creating new businesses. Right, you're talking about creating new businesses which were probably stagnant. And getting into basically a complete drastic change, right? Basically, I think some people are talking about 200 to 300% growth in the next maybe few years, maybe 5 years, 10 years. And I think some data points even talk about much higher growth, right? And while this is happening, you can really see the demand, because the demand can be very different. So today, the demand might be there at a certain level where it's coming in from different consumer applications like automotive, aerospace, industrial. But I think the future, this demand can be exponentially very, very high. And with that point, I think I just want to kind of briefly talk about some of the things which we will discover from our panelists as well. That 3D printing really brings in few key advantages, and we will also talk about in our discussion with the panel. One is rapid prototyping, right? You can really very, very inexpensively create certain prototypes very quickly. I think you could not have done that without 3D printing in the past. The lead times drastically get reduced, right? Because you're actually able to produce goods very fast, right? Rapid innovation, right? You could never innovate so rapidly as in the age of 3D printing, right? Rapid manufacturing, just in time. When you talk about just in time, I think this is a real example of just in time. You can design. I mean, there are things which is happening since years, say in the US or whatever. You just put in what you need, and the shoe gets printed at the Nike store, and you go and pick it up. So there's no supply chain there. Everything gone. You have design and you have the product, right? Reducing the product overheads. The concept of mass customization, right? Mass customization is the key. Every consumer wants his or own product, right? This is the classic way to achieve mass customization. Mass production, right? That's another way. While we might say that it doesn't look like, but I think we will see how 3D printing is helping to do that as well. And making everything unique, can be printed through 3D printers. Now, while these are some of the benefits, but I know the road might not be as smooth as we talk about, and I think there are a few things we will discover as we go along to kind of understand what 3D printing brings us, what is the potential, what we are seeing in India, and how is different companies transforming themselves, or maybe solving their business problems, or solving their customer problems, right? So I would go with my questions now, and I'm very, very happy to see the panelists, very, very leading stalwarts in the industry. And my first question is to Mr. Vaidya, who's from Godrej Aerospace. And aerospace is an industry which always leads the pack, be it in innovation, right? I mean, and for them to bring in strength versus lightweight versus reducing the innovation or the time to market is such a key fundamental, because they're talking about huge amount of money being spent on that. So, sir, I think the question I would have is that if you could probably talk about your, how are you really looking at the aerospace component manufacturing in India, and how are you basically using 3D printing, and how extensively do you think you can really look at 3D printing for manufacturing certain aircraft components, sir? Your view, sir.
Good morning, all of you. Good morning, Mr. Niraj, and
Morning.
thank you for setting the tone for today's discussion very well. I think the aerospace, you all know that it's a very challenging field because of the service conditions, the environment, and the kind of application in which we need to really perform. And because of this, the stringent rules and regulations which have been imposed, whether it is aircraft or whether it is a missile or it is a space launch vehicle or a satellite itself. And some of them are kind of a single shot devices. Some of them are repetitive use going up to 15 to 20 years. And because of the various technical requirements to make everyone safe, or to make the vehicle or the flying object safe. And as you rightly said, it has to be also a lightweight. So wherever we want strength, the strength has to be provided. Where you don't want strength, or where you are finding that the weight is in excess, normally for land-based systems, we will not be taking away or machining those areas which doesn't require functional use. But in aerospace, we need to take away material which is unwanted, to make it more and more lighter so that it will have better performance. And that really calls for variety of materials. I mean, we don't use the standard run of the mill, but we have exotic titanium and aluminum and nickel based alloys. Plus a lot of composite is being used, which demonstrates very high strength and different corrosion properties, impact properties. At the same time, the weight is less. So when such a varying requirements are there, and lack of standards or database of knowledge into various characterization of these materials. And the only way you can test your article, the no ground test is adequate to get you a airworthy certification. You have to actually fly your components successfully, and not once, but for repeated times, and then only you actually get the airworthy certification. Now that makes it very complex. And the flip side is that in case of any eventuality, any component or any sub-assembly or the entire mission fails, it is going to have a catastrophic failure only. I mean, it cannot have anything less than losing some of the lives in case there is going to be a catastrophic. So the quality norms are also going to be very, very stringent. And in such case, if you want to be up with the gains, because here it is not only a race of making money, but here it is a race of keeping yourself safe in case you are working in defense, and especially your country. So in such cases, you have to make your own designs. You cannot really aggregate parts from various industries and assemble and make your own vehicle, because then you will be actually departing with your technology. And here everyone wants to safeguard or keep into a very highly regimented area. And as a result, even in the civil aviation till today, you see only Airbus and Boeing. And in the engine side, you have very few like Rolls-Royce, GE, Pratt and Whitney, Safran. Handful of companies only So that means every component, just to give you an idea, in the engine, there are about 30,000 manufactured components. That means it varies from engine to engine. And when such a large number of components are to be designed and manufactured and tested, and you are always running out of time, so technologies like 3D printing or lightweighting are going to be very, very helpful and handful for aerospace engineers to really work up. A typical lead time for manufacturing a component through a machining route by sourcing material, manufacturing it, or by forming or by any other technique is not less than 3 to 6 months. But for a 3D printed part, I'm talking especially for the metallic. I mean, there is a 3D printing you can do in non-metallics also. But for metallic parts, it takes about 6 to 8 days. So from 6 to 8 months, it can be brought down to 6 to 8. Plus your revisions and changes which are required to be incorporated. I have not seen any aircraft or any engine going through in the first attempt and getting the airworthy certifications unless there are more than 10 to 15 revisions. And we have been working in this area for last 30 years. And unless the 13, 14 revisions minimum happen and there are changes and acceptance criteria, you don't get the airworthy certification. And every time if you have to wait or proactively start, it's a huge cost. So I think in that respect, the 3D printing is a very apt and very, very good technology for aerospace. And that is where probably the aerospace invented this technology with a lot of capabilities into various laser melting techniques and electron beam techniques, because the alloys what we use are highly corrosive and they are highly oxidation prone. So it requires to be protected. So I think I will stop at this. I have just given you a flavor considering the time. I think I will give opportunity to others also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Vaidya. Very, very interesting to note. And I think clearly aerospace is leading in this space and they're paving way for a lot of other industries. I think my next question would be to Mr. Pujari, I think who's CIO ACG. So now from aerospace, let's go into pharma and really understand, sir, that, if we really look at 3D printing in pharmaceutical industry, what is that, what is the problem it can solve for all of us? And what do you think, vis-a-vis the other technologies or other processes? Does it really help us, in terms of solving our problems? Or what is your views on that?
See, from a need perspective or from a problem solving perspective, probably the 3D printing can solve the biggest problem of for healthcare industry, I would say, wherein the drugs are available at customers' place, at patients' place when they need it, because the critical drugs availability is not easy, and we have really recently had the situation of pandemic where the drugs were not easily available. Okay, apart from of course other problems, but most critical aspect here is that this is a problem, and this problem can really help patients. We can save many lives if we are able to adopt this technology. But at the same time, when we look at the possibilities or the ease of implementation of this technology in the industry, there are many challenges. The first and foremost challenge is that the IPs are protected by pharmaceutical industry, and if we have to go for a hub and spoke kind of distribution mechanism or a manufacturing mechanism, then definitely it is not going to be that much easier from the IP production perspective. The second important point is with respect to the manufacturing environment. We are aware the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry maintains very high level of hygiene conditions, very high level of controlled temperature, the atmospheric conditions, physical conditions, because drug is supposed to will behave in a particular way in a different temperature when it comes to manufacturing. So the hygroscopic nature of the material that we have, the drugs that we have, and the use of various polymers that we use in the pharma industry. So in that situation, it is not as much easier to do a manufacturing anywhere that we want. From earlier, Mr. Vaidya was speaking, it is more from the confidentiality perspective, security perspective. Here, it is more from the product quality perspective. The third is the regulatory aspects. So how regulators will view to this, because even when we have so much of well-regulated manufacturing conditions and the processes are well followed, even then we have so many challenges with respect to complying to regulatory requirements. Then how this will span out when it comes to the the 3D printing, the hub and spoke mechanism that we can think of when we talk of 3D printing. The hospitals or the diagnostic laboratories could consider manufacturing using 3D printing techniques, but then how would they be able to maintain the stringent physical conditions and meet the regulatory requirements? The GMP is very, very important in the pharma industry, you are aware. This is a third, then what are the drivers to bring in the 3D printing technology faster into this domain? Probably the customized drug requirement or specification for that in prescription for the patient, depending upon his health condition. Because today what we have is the drugs which are available with a particular formulation, and it is mass manufactured and it is available for masses. How much individual's body really needs is based on the diagnostics of that person's health condition, and then subsequently the recommendation for the drug formulation is made accordingly. This should be the, in my view, this will be one of the driver for faster adoption of 3D printing in this industry. But at the same time, today, at least in India, that I can talk about, the conditions, the physical condition, environmental conditions are not really suitable. And 3D printing as a technology also, involves a lot of heat and various other situations, which also makes it difficult for for adoption of this technology by pharma industry. So what we have to look at is that the advantages of having this industry, like availability of the drug at the time when it requires, when the patient requires, and when the critical conditions are there. Second is that personalized medicine that I talk about. These could be probably on the demand side. Okay, technology is probably a little easier to handle. The other things that I talk about, the physical condition of the manufacturing, the GMPs, the regulatory aspects, could be the points which will hinder the adoption of this. Probably, I think I'm aware of somewhere around 2015 or somewhere some FDA has approved some drug for manufacturing, but we have at least not seen further adoption, serious adoption of this in this industry. We at ACG, of course, I cannot talk about it, but companies like ACG who manufacture machines which are required by the pharma industry, which can consider the miniaturization of these machines and work closely with the 3D printing industries to help in manufacturing, in situ manufacturing, what we call as, for these drugs that are there. And further, having said that, it is also not easier for manufacturing every drug at the location of the patient using 3D printing. Probably the liquids that we talk about, the liquid dosages, maybe we have to look at different technologies as we go along. But from the need perspective, definitely this is going to be a big game changer, and probably in going ahead, some disruptive technologies will surely come because of the need that exists. These are my views on this particular aspect.
Thank you, Mr. Pujari. I mean, this is really, painting the future, and really, I think some of the things what you talked about is quite exciting. I think, basically, getting into drugs as and when required, personalized medicine. I think these are something we definitely is gonna see in the future, and I'm sure you must be doing a lot of work on that. Now, going next, I think, of course, we discussed many things, which is happening, regulatory and stuff. And I think now I think we have Mr. Budhiraja, who's from Markforged. And I think, I just want to kind of understand from him. I mean, you are essentially a 3D solution provider, not just in India, globally. And, you must be facing a lot of questions, concerns, and then clearly, while 3D printing can solve many problems or issues, but there are also a lot of misconceptions and stuff like that. So I think what do you answer to them, or what's the key things what is your view that, when people are checking with you about 3D printing, additive technology, what do they ask you? I mean, what are the misconceptions or concerns they have?
Sure. All right. Thanks, Neeraj. That's a great question. First of all, good morning, everyone. And thanks to ITP as well for inviting us to be part of this really great panelist. So to answer your questions, I would say, Neeraj, it has, like you're asking multiple questions, it is in one line. So I'll start with the misconceptions. So whenever we are talking to the manufacturing industry or the manufacturers who are actually doing the real manufacturing job on the shop floors, on their plants. So the first thing which comes into their mind is 3D printing is only for design and development. It is for product development. It is for prototyping. It is not for the manufacturing. It is not going to handle the manufacturing steps as well. So these are the misconceptions which we hear from them. And the major concern which are coming from those manufacturing industries are, can really plastic replace the metal? Can it really handle those kind of high temperature, high strength, high stress, high load requirement, those kind of impact which are there on the shop floor? Just a simple example, somebody asked me that, okay, if I drop your 3D printed tool on the shop floor, which is a very common thing on the shop floor, can it really handle that? How many drop tests is going to pass? So these are the major concerns which people are having, as well as one of the major concern is around the ROI as well. So now to answer all these, I would say with the introduction of the composite which Markforged has introduced in 2013, which is one of the unique composition, which is we are producing the continuous fiber reinforcement, which gives that kind of strength, which is, I would say, multiple times the strength of the aluminum as well. So when we talk to the people over there on the ground who are manufacturing the traditional ways of jigs and fixtures, tooling, go, no go gauges, these kind of things, which are not required in high number of quantities, they can definitely look into replacement of those tools, because the composites which are available nowadays with the 3D printing is about carbon fiber, Kevlar, fiberglass, so which are going to give them multiple times higher strength in terms of load capability, in terms of handling the high temperatures as well. So there are a lot of industries which have already started using it for their spare parts requirement as well. And when we talk about the ROI, as Mr. Vaidya had mentioned, that going ahead on the tooling side, on the pattern side, or investment casting side, it normally takes 4 to 6 weeks. Now, if we have a 3D printing which is providing a solution to those kind of components, so why not to use that? So that ROI comes in terms of definitely the lead time. And the second thing is that complexity comes free with the 3D printing. So if there is a complex geometry, so let's 3D print it rather than looking into the 3D traditional ways of manufacturing it. So I would say in terms of the new designs, in terms of the applications, so 3D printing allows us to focus more on the application rather than limiting ourselves about or with the limitation of the traditional manufacturing or the limitation of a CNC machine. So if we know that this is an application where we have to focus on the design is complex, but the CNC machine cannot do it, let's 3D print it. So we can definitely look into the low volume production. I would say a lot of new age companies in AI, in IoT, because of the complex ergonomics, or I would say better ergonomics, they have already started adopting 3D printing in the phase 1 of their inception of the companies itself, because they know that the volumes for them are not going to be in lakhs. It's going to be in few hundred or thousand. So 3D printing is the only solution for them. The other thing which definitely all the manufacturing industry is going to get is about the benefits of using design for additive manufacturing. So now design for additive manufacturing helps to redesign in the terms of regenerative designs, which is making the part stronger or making the part lighter. So without compromising on the strength, it gives more strength, but the parts are lighter. So in terms of using the lighter products on the shop floor, improves the productivity of the labor. The industry has already started adopting it. So as the Neeraj mentioned, designer product development to the tools, jigs, fixtures, end use part, low volume production part. And in few of the industries, like pharmaceutical industries, to talk about, I have seen a lot of industries who are pharmaceutical, oil and gas, they have started using 3D printed part as a spare part of their machine. So there are machines which are really old now and they don't have a vendor which is still in existence. So they can look into printing those parts directly into a 3D printer, directly from the 3D printer. Why? Because the introduction of the new composite materials, the strength which an industry, a machine is also looking forward for, so we can easily print it directly. So now we are not limiting ourselves in terms of the supply chain, in terms of the limitation of the traditional manufacturing ways. So we do have a solution which can easily replace all those things and overcome those challenges. With this, I would say, I think I covered most of the part about the misconceptions, concerns, and then applicability of this technology all across different verticals. And it is kind of definitely going to be used in automotive, consumer goods. If you look into the global scenario or in local Indian scenario as well, supply chain has been a really big hit in these challenges time, and everybody wants to have that self-sufficiency. So I've seen people waiting for one part to run their machine, which was not reaching to their plant for next few weeks. So they came to us, they asked that, okay, can you print this part? I want to put it in my machine and then start production. So we help them doing that as well. So nowadays, with the introduction of these stronger materials, I think this adoption is going to go at multiple folds in next 5 years. That's what we are seeing in the industry, especially in the manufacturing side.
Thank you, Mr. Budhiraja. I think hopefully some of these misconceptions get cleared for everybody as we go along. Clearly, I think these are delimiting misconceptions which shouldn't come in anybody's way. I think I also see some questions which we will respond later as we go along. So moving on next, I think we have Mr. Ghosh from RSB Group, and I think sir, you are actually into design and manufacturing of aggregates and systems. Now, what do you think that where do you think 3D printing technology can be applied, and what's your view in terms of the benefits which you potentially see by using 3D printing?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you ITP for calling us as a panelist. So actually, automotive industries, we are not using 3D printing at this stage, but there is a scope in our foundry where we can use that 3D printing. So briefly, I am discussing on that. The 3D sand printing process, sand mold components without any pattern or core box equipment. The process essentially makes sand mold without the middleman. To those who have purchased castings for years, this can seem strange. Patterns of supply, patterns and metal casting facilities pack sand around them to make the mold. That is the why the industry works. For the pattern shop, to skip the pattern and the supply the sand mold instead is a change that customers sometimes have to wrap their heads around. However, this change both simplifies casting process and overcomes many previous limitations. 3D printing of sand potentially makes casting both more efficient and more effective at the same time. But there is some limitation with 3D printing because that cost is very high for initially for this molding, 3D printing molding. 3D printing sand method is an option worth exploring when parts are complex. The order is low volume. Reduction of post-processing is desired and concurrent iterations are needed. Because the cost of 3D printed sand is high compared to sand molds and cores produced using soft tooling, simulation is used to engineers getting and chilling strategies for complex casting rather than doing trial and error development. But 3D printing method following steps performs. Scales the solid CAD model for foundry shrink, add required gating and rigging, run solidification on the model design with the gating and rigging, design the 3D printed sand mold, run the STL software, transfer data to the printing machine, give the operator visual of the build box. In short note, we can say we can do complicated casting through 3D printing technology, whereas 8 to 9 different castings can be integrated in a single mold. That is the biggest advantage on this. Another thing that Mr. Neeraj has already told, the advantage of the 3D printing, the rapid prototyping we can do. Single items can be produced inexpensively without incurring the mold and tooling cost of traditional manufacturing. Rapid innovation, new innovations can be created and revised quickly since 3D printing is an iterative process. Rapid manufacturing, just-in-time inventory can be easily managed and created. Reduced lead times. Lead times can be reduced as a result of being able to produce goods relatively quickly. Reduced overhead. Overhead required to invest in inventory and warehouse is reduced since items can be printed as needed. Traditional manufacturing methods typically require larger volumes of inventory to be produced and warehoused at one time. Mass production, unique products that cannot be made using traditional manufacturing methods can be produced for mass production. Mass customization, products can be customized for a single purpose or created in small and economical production runs. So this is the view from my side.
Thank you for this insight and inputs here. I think now let me go into very unique, what do you say, understanding now. I think we have Mr. Vikas Mishra from RAFE. Mr. Mishra, I think you are into, making various composite structures for drones and UAVs. And I think this is again, I mean, it might be slightly related to the aerospace, but I think from your perspective, what is your view, when using 3D printing, how does it really help you and your sector?
First of all, the name of the company is Refi M Fiber. First of all, I'll tell a little bit about ourselves so that it sets the tone. We are a drone manufacturing company in structure and propellers, and in terms of electronics, we manufacture everything here. And our drones are combat drones. We don't manufacture surveillance or aerial photography. So yes, it's an aerospace industry. There is nothing less in a drone which is there in an aircraft in terms of aerodynamics. I'll tell you, the first equipment I purchased when I started this company in 2016 was a 3D printer from MakerBot. So I graduated from MIT, and there I had a lot of understanding about 3D printers, and I knew that what's going to happen and how the manufacturing industry is going to be affected in a good way by 3D printers. So for us, I'll quickly give you a few things. There are a lot of parts which we use directly in drone, which are 3D printed, and they are not structural parts. They serve many purpose. Like for example, Anuj was with Stratasys just 2 months back. Now he's with Markforged. We recently got Markforged also. So what happens is inside when we simulate the physics, we understand the requirement of an UAV in terms of aerospace and in terms of physics inside it. And then we design the components accordingly. So now with the fleet of 3D printers I can have ABS, PLA, LTEM, resin-based, SLA-based 3D printers where I have flexible resin. With Markforged, we are having steel and copper. So it gives me an immense ability in terms of designing and making sure that many components of my UAV are being like exactly, and so I can optimize the design, I can optimize the weight. So it gives me ability to design it and then manufacture it. So I agree with most of the panelists that yes, it's definitely creating a good impact in manufacturing business. However, there are some limitations there, which the reason why I'm bringing it out, because we need more innovation in India. So rather than the innovation outside, so 3D printing is a very strong technology. Like as you guys are also aware that I can buy a kit from Amazon and make a 3D printer. Which is very simple one. But we need to also think about different materials. Like for example, just today I was having a conference in US with a couple of universities where one of the professor was able to print pancreas using 3D printers. So we need to get into, so this is a good place where we need to have actually innovations in 3D printing in terms of materials and in terms of what we can do. Yeah, that would be my take on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, really interesting to know that, we're able to print pancreas using 3D printing. So that really, shows how much it is valuable, not just for manufacturing, but also for the core essence of human life, how much it can really. Now let me move on again. I think to Mr. Vaidya, and I think my question is more to kind of understand that you might be doing low volume production because it's an aerospace segment, and then there is need for mass customization, and then there are industrial grade parts, which is important to be uh, part of making that entire strength or whatever need be as per the compliances and the regulatories. So the question is that considering that, what do you see? Where do you think 3D printing checks in those boxes basically?
Especially a country like us, where we have limited budgets and limited resources, I think 3D printing kind of a technology is going to be very, very important for us, because we can keep on experimenting with different powders and shape up different components very quickly. Once your model is done and you have a good printer to print, and you have a variety of powders available, you can then quickly print and choose the right material at the right price and at right volumes. So this is the first very important advantage what the Indian aerospace is really looking for, where volumes are limited, and we are yet to develop our own standards. I mean, one of the biggest challenge for Indian aerospace industry is to develop our own standards suitable for our own conditions and suitable for the raw materials, the machining technologies and test technologies what we have to really suit it. Till then, we will be dependent on all those foreign nationals to give us the concepts and whatever the proven ideas, and that's where we are looking for this, especially the Atmanirbhar, to develop all this right from the grassroots. Rather than developing only the finished part, let us go back, and the researchers also will find it very good to really get this, because for them to do a research, getting different alloys in smaller quantities is always a challenge. They don't get it, and that is where our research also comes into very currently the academia and the focused research which is required can be brought in very well using this 3D printing technology. You can really make the test coupon samples of what you want and then test it out your understanding. The third biggest challenge for the industry, which I think India can really get into it, and using our software capabilities, is this particular technology has not yet fully accepted, because there is no standard like ASTM gives how to really accept a plate or a rod or a sheet or a casting or a forging, what you make it, what are the tests you can do it. So I think that evolution of those standards with a lot of simulations so that you can perfect the standard. And lastly, I will focus on the non-destructive testing. Any component, especially which is going to come into aerospace, unless and until you vouch for its sound characterization, whether it is the grain size or whether it is your particular grain orientation, or maybe a small porosities, oxidations, or maybe other kind of small cracks. So these are the things, once the NDT standards will evolve and the techniques will evolve. So I think we have the basic understanding of the NDT in India. We should really put a lot of efforts in converting this understanding through a simulated softwares, so that we can then get a kind of a fairly good judgment of the part which has been tested. You can do a hardness test, but it doesn't tell you whether the part is sound inside. And because of this fine nature in the which the parts are being actually produced, it becomes very essential to develop a proper standards which are deliberately made defective. And if your non-destructive technique can detect that, then you are going to be more confident about the part what you have printed. So it's a mix. I mean, one is coming from how we can really use it for our small volumes and use it. Second, for the research, and third is what is the lacuna in today's system in developing parts further. If all three things we can really work upon, and rather than focusing and only assembling the printers and start printing it, I think the fundamental research also has to happen along with it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now the next one I think is, again, I think Mr. Pujari talked about, I think how I think at times of pandemic, such technologies does help, because you need to scale up and provide the due medicines or whatever needed to be able to help mankind. So I think the question basically is, that, in situations like pandemic or, wherein you need a lot of manufacturing capabilities to scale up at very short time, and there are supply chain disruptions and stuff. So I think 3D printing, of course, kind of eliminates or helps you there. So the question is that, what do you think 3D printing or additive manufacturing, can there be networks? Or how do you see that, if somebody has to ramp up certain productions during pandemic kind of situation, how can it really scale up, basically?
My view would be that the way the hospitals have adopted, are actually it has happened out of a commercial mindset. Like large hospitals have their own diagnostic labs. They have their own pharma kind of retail or a small shop there. So similar to that, the hospitals could, if they could adopt this, or even the large pharmaceutical chains could consider setting up the manufacturing 3D manufacturing setups in. I think there's some disturbance here in my building. Some work is going on. So if the pharma chain, the pharmaceutical retail chains like Apollo or some name, just some names I'm taking, if they could consider getting up into this kind of contract manufacturing at different locations, and pharma industry then lends this kind of technology and the raw material for manufacturing this could be one model that could be considered. Or I'm aware of some of these village panchayats based on some model of organic manufacturing. They are doing some work. So similar to that, if you could have the large corporations, considering there was a proposal recently, each corporation can have their own oxygen manufacturing facility. So similar to that, if this could be considered as a possibility, so those could be another thing. And also the third could be the hub and spoke. The manufacturing organizations, the pharma companies themselves can set up these at different smaller locations and operate hub and spoke, wherein they have a major ingredient at one place, where they protect IP and they could manufacture something, and then it comes to the next level, and then it comes to the next actual final level. Like if you could look at the Coca-Cola or such companies who are contract manufacturing many of their products, while they continue to retain their IP. I feel these are three, four models that could be looked at, considering the the availability of the drugs at right time to the needy. So but at the same time, the as I told you, the manufacturing conditions and the necessary approvals. This pandemic has really taught us, because I was recently in one of my place where I went there, and everybody is aware of ICMA, and they are all aware of the test efficacy of the test that they did for the COVID-19. So the knowledge is becoming more and more now available at each of the locations, and this opportunity could be used for setting up these kind of things. And also the 3D printing equipment manufacturers themselves consider this kind of opportunity. These are the possible models which could be adopted to kind of democratize the availability of drugs in each of these locations, depending upon the situation that evolves as we go on. But whether it is pandemic or no pandemic, the going ahead, definitely the need of the hour would be to have a more and more customized or personalized medicines available, being made available, and medicines being made available to the needy at their locations. So these are the models that I described about, are some examples which could be used for democratizing the availability of the medicines.
Definitely. I mean, be it pandemic or not a pandemic, there are certain things which can definitely do, as you talked about. Now, again, going back to Mr. Budhiraja, I think, we all talk about Industry 4.0 and digital and stuff like that. Now, when you really look at Industry 4.0, connected ecosystems and all of those things, how can companies integrate their additive manufacturing capabilities and stuff like that to really build that larger Industry 4.0, right? Because that's where the key thing lies, right? How do you really build that entire story?
I would say, as we are seeing more and more adoption around Industry 4.0 and digitalization on the manufacturing area as well. So 3D printing being one of the key ingredient of Industry 4.0 or driving the digitalization, it is really helping connected the different silos. So if we talk about in terms of design, so if you have the design, you print it. Design of the product, you print as a prototype. You have the design of the tool, you print it directly. You have the design of the final product, you can directly print it. A classic example of, I would say, is one of our esteemed customer like Mr. Vikas ji. He, like in 2017, he has a clear vision that this is the technology which is going to be adopted. So I would say his factory is a digital factory. So actually you can, the plants or the facilities are manufacturing the parts while we all are working from home. The printers are still working. So the solutions which nowadays are Markforged is also providing is all about AI based, cloud based. So everything is connected. I would say throughout the complete product lifecycle management, starting from the design of the part, prototyping, design of the product, and then assembly of the products, vis-a-vis the production tools being required on the floor, or directly printing the part as well. It is all connected through cloud-based solutions as well. And in our printers also, we have added one more AI-based tool which helps to scan the part while it is printing and correct it as well basis on the CAD design as well. So I would say on a path to adopting Industry 4.0, everything has to be digitalized. So the way things are being made are changing. As in the initial thought, you had very well articulated it, Neeraj, that now we are moving from mass manufacturing to mass customization. Now making that journey easier, definitely these are the technology which we have to adopt it throughout the product lifecycle management. So rather than depending only on the CAD, we have to have a hardware which is going to help us in the journey of the complete product through product lifecycle management. So we call it as that, like digital factory is the only answer. So in fact, these tough time, pandemic times have taught us like we have to keep the manufacturing going on while sitting and working from home, because we have seen a lot of challenges around supply chain where the bins were really empty, or where the inventory was still lying there because there were no orders. Had it been completely digitalized, obviously these challenges would have been overcome at that time. But yes, the industry is again moving towards that, and 3D printing technology providers are helping to drive those initiatives all across industry in the manufacturing by providing these AI based tools, by providing these cloud based services, as well as connecting through the PLMs also, where the complete product lifecycle is managed digitally and the production is also happening digitally. So when we talk about mass customization, yes, it is moving towards 3D printed solutions, where the low volume productions are also being produced by using 3D printer. The tools on the manufacturing floor are also being used and produced digitally, and obviously reducing the product development time, reducing the time to market, and managing the inventory as well digitally, which is definitely helping companies to be more profitable, to be more closer to the customer, or helping their production targets achieve and reaching their products to the customers on time as well. These will be my take on that.
Thank you. It helps. I think, ultimately it's connecting the overall ecosystem, and I think 3D printing does play a vital role, as you mentioned. But there are a lot of other things which have to be brought in to be able to create that. So thank you, Mr. Buddhiraja, for that. And I think on similar lines, I think my next question is to Mr. Ghosh. That how does he see? Because I think if you look at designing, you're looking at manufacturing, and then you're looking at distribution. So how 3D printing or additive manufacturing, you think will actually it's like a paradigm shift, right? So what is your thought on that? That how is this going to change, and what do you see? What's your thoughts?
Of course, the additive manufacturing is allowing a paradigm shift in design, manufacturing, and distribution due to the creative product design with less expenses, and is more customized products with high quality and performance. Third is demand-driven manufacturing, localizing and simplifying the supply chain for easy distribution. Design complexity used to cost something. The more shapes or curves you needed in a design, the higher the cost for manufacturing and attempting to achieve those forms in traditional manufacturing. With additive manufacturing, design complexity is free. There is no minimum part count, no price for wanting a shape that requires stopping a machine and changing setup for production to continue. The freedom of design complexity is a paramount shift for designers. With additive manufacturing, design has fewer constraints imposed by the manufacturing process. This means designs can more closely follow functions. Thus, additive manufacturing allows for far better products. We can compare the traditional manufacturing and 3D prints. If we consider cost-wise, traditional manufacturing higher cost of manufacturing and shipping, whereas 3D printing up to 70% savings due to prototyping cost. If we consider design, then traditional manufacturing less innovative design due to cost constraints. But for 3D printing allows for easy yet inexpensive in design. If we consider speed, traditional manufacturing more time to build final product, whereas 3D printing less time taken due to the compressed design cycles. If we consider quality, traditional manufacturing creates more waste, subtractive process will compromise on precision, whereas 3D printing lighter and smaller amount of waste, higher precision with layer by layer manufacturing. 3D printing enables cost-effective customization. The complex supply chain would be fundamentally changed, driven by the localized manufacturing and demand balance between the customer and the manufacturers. The manufacturing process would be significantly shortened and optimized with the 3D printers and material spreading distributed across the globe, which shows a highly localized and customized trading model. Manufacturing moves closer to end consumers, new business models are developed and form a new economic disruption. Under such circumstances, the traditional manufacturing model is replaced by the new production process, a kind of distributed manufacturing. And the customers play more active roles during the whole process, from product design, manufacturing to final delivery. The whole process is significantly simplified. You can say 3D printing, we just design the 3D model, print, then final product. For the conventional manufacturing method, the process is very long and it takes more time and more cost. But there is some constraint in 3D printing. Number one, speed of printing, cost of raw materials, machine range, the cost of producing large volumes of some products can be high using 3D printers, surface finish and resolution, potential risk from hackers and software bugs, misuse of technology, danger of self-producing unwanted objects like gun. Overall, 3D printing creates an opportunity for new innovation, reduce waste, simplify the supply chain, creating an opportunity for a more sustainable future.
Thank you for that. And now I'm going to go to Mr. Mishra, and I think I'm going to ask the toughest question, which is basically the cost of, say, getting a 3D printing technology in place and, in your manufacturing setup. And is the ROI really worth it at this point of time? I think this is a very, I would say, pertinent question in everybody's mind. And Mr. Mishra, if you could answer that question.
We talk about normal printers like ABS and PLA. Yes, it helps you. The ROI, you can get it as soon as like maybe, it totally depends on your product, what is your end product you're using it for. However, if you really want to take advantage of 3D printing, you need to go into more complicated printers in terms of either metal printers or LTEM or things like that. So that becomes a challenge. So I can tell you in my business, we have been able to get the ROI because our products sell for much more, like the cost of the end product is high, so we can include that margin, and we are doing it with the government. So that's definitely, we are able to take it out. However, if you like, for example, if you take a 3D printer for like printing steel or printing copper, and since the build volumes are low and the speed is not that fast, it takes time for you to get your ROI. So that's why it's not picking up the speed in manufacturing sector. So if you meet with a lot of like veterans of manufacturing sector, they definitely say that, okay, the conventional manufacturing is good, because let's suppose if I have to make a part out of aluminium, or like aluminium alloy, and make like maybe hundreds of them, it will be much cheaper and much faster in milling machines rather than going to 3D printing. The other thing what I just want to bring everyone's attention towards like post-processing of the 3D printed part, which is like a very important part, which Sankar sir has just mentioned it. So our one of the biggest problem is post-processing. So when you talk about the whole ecosystem of 3D printing, it's not just that you are you got the part and you are ready to use it. So most of these 3D printing companies need to provide a total solution. If you, as an end use customer, if we want to buy a 3D printer, we need to know that how need to process it, how I need to take it to the level where I can use it in end product, which also requires an investment and often a lot of confusion, because then and that's also a resistance in many industries. So I have a couple of friends who actually are not in India, but they're not using 3D printing technology because their post processing is something which has not evolved as much as 3D printing has evolved. And then that is a further investment. And startups, so big companies can do that, but for startups, that's like a hidden cost. And you suddenly realize that, oh, I need to buy this. Oh, I need to buy this more. So that creates a huge problem, and that word of mouth goes to everybody. So return on investment is a very subjective question for like, I was just talking to one of my family members. I was like, I'm excited about 3D printing in general. So there is a company in Australia, Brutum. They are doing clay 3D printing, right? So they actually got one 3D printer printed, and they made a really good pottery, but the cost came out to be high. But they painted it so it can go. They can use it, they can sell it, but then again, it will take them huge amount of those parts to sell them to get their ROI. So it's subjective, but if you're in high-tech manufacturing, I'm this year alone, I'm investing more than $4 or $5 million in 3D printers. So if you are in high-tech manufacturing, it definitely gives you an edge over your competitors across the world. So yes, for a high-tech manufacturing, yes. For something which is you want to sell products just out of 3D printer, it might be difficult.
So very good. I think we've had a good range of discussions today. I think, and I think we're almost at the end of our panel discussion. Really, I mean, if you look at it, I think when we started, I think we started with Mr. Vaidya, and I think clearly, I think there's a need for new technology, lightweight, components and stuff, and innovation. I think innovations are happening, but then there are challenges because the quality standards are demanding. There are certain lacks in the standards. Maybe some things are to be developed and stuff like that. But really, I think there is huge adoption. We learned from Mr. Vaidya in the aerospace segment. We learned from Mr. Pujari again very important things like how if you look at a pharma kind of industry, how personalized medicines and all of those things is coming up, and that's what the customers want. While there could be challenges on the regulatory side, and there could be some adoption issues, but clearly, I think if you really want to implement it, and if you really want to, and I think he gave an example of the hub and spoke model, wherein you can, just like Coca-Cola, you can also have your IPs intact, but then you can actually have a complete wider distribution to kind of solve their manufacturing or contract manufacturing kind of setups in pharma industry to kind of help the larger mankind in terms of providing the relevant medicines on time. We also learned from Mr. Budhiraja. I think he talked about very important thing that 3D printing is not just for concept modeling, right? It is for everything. It's concept, it's product, it's development, it's even into jigs and fixtures. And some of these misconceptions he really clarified, to everybody here. And definitely, I think his view is that to be able to kind of build this entire industry 4.0 ecosystem, I think 3D printing does play a good role, and of course brings in that element of innovation on which you can really build your foundations of industry 4.0. And then I think we discussed with Mr. Ghosh. I think he talked about certain good suggestions and inputs. I think especially from his perspective of his thoughts on the sand mold print, design using 3D printing for some sand printing molds and stuff, wherein he could do some rapid prototyping without, I mean, basically eliminating the middleman and then bringing in those new innovations at a lower cost. And I think is also his views that that there is a paradigm shift happening with 3D printing. And I think I take one word from him. He mentioned the freedom of design complexity, because I don't want any complexity. Like for example, I cannot design this or cannot build this because my CNC machine cannot make it. So I think that freedom of design complexity is a very nice way to put it. How the paradigm shift of 3D printing, how paradigm shift is happening using 3D printing, right? And then finally, I think Mr. Mishra, I think he gave in very, very important insights, and I think a few things. I mean, it's not just about the printing and the technology. Of course, that's the easy part, but it's about the innovation in materials, right? That's the most important thing. And he also gave an example where I think in the US there was a pancreas being 3D printed. So that talks about the potential of not just industry 4.0 or business or whatever, but also what it can do for the mankind, right? And then finally, I think his views on ROI. So clearly, I think ROI is subjective, and I think there are, and I'm sure people are seeing ROI in investments in such kind of technology to solve this people's problem and achieve their business objectives. But I think there were certain elements which he talked about, like for example, if it's a high-tech industry, then of course ROI is possible. Others you will have to really evaluate. But then I think I strongly think that there is ROI. But yes, it's just the way you kind of build it across and you build those different elements of it, how and what and stuff like that. Now clearly, so I think in summary, I think I think this entire panel, I would say, agrees that there is a paradigm shift happening. This potential for 3D printing is quite huge, and it has a big impact which it can create to be able to build more innovative products as we go forward into the future. I want to thank ITP Media, Hafiz, Syed, and all the esteemed panelists here. And I would like to kind of request Hafiz to come over so that we along with the panel can take up certain questions here.
Hi Neeraj, thank you very much, especially to you and to the entire panel speakers. Please don't go away. We have very interesting, in fact, 30 more questions that online we have asked, and there are 35 questions offline which has been asked to us. So before that, we have a very quick presentation that we're going to invite Mr. Anthony, who's has a 15 years of experience in engineering and design across a range of industry, including construction and manufacturing. Anthony has an in-depth understanding of how different additive manufacturing technology can be best applied to different applications, as well as how to design for a wide range of additive manufacturing technologies. Anthony, over to you. I know we have run out of time, but as soon as possible as you can make it more quickly.
No worries. I'll give you a very quick education session on how additive manufacturing is being used on the shop floor right now to do a variety of things: save time, save money, bring products to market faster, safety reasons, all sorts of things. So thank you for the introduction. I'm an applications engineer. I work directly for Markforged in the regions of Australia, India, and New Zealand. I'll get straight into it. I'm going to talk about some applications that have been used on the shop floor, very specific applications. And the first one I'm going to talk about is end-of-arm grippers. So all of these have a reason why they're 3D printed. And the reason why end-of-arm grippers are 3D printed is one, to reduce the cost of production, which means you can have more iterations and have a better designed product at the end. and you save time in this whole process. And secondly, local supply chain agility, means you can, better your NPI and your production volumes. So you can bring your product to market much faster and with less downtime. For this particular one, so I've got a few more points, but I'm going to make it very quick. For this particular one, the nice thing about this design is the internal channels that it has. So there's some suction channels that are required for this part. And rather than have them all on the outside of the machine and with a very complex, messy design, you can streamline that and put them all on the inside of the end of arm tooling. The next one is lifting tools. So what this company has done, so this is Wärtsilä based in Sweden. They print these lifting tools in-house to gain control of their supply chain and to reduce the weight and increase the durability of this particular tool. So this is actually lifting 1,000 kilograms. So this is made possible with the composite 3D printing with the continuous carbon fiber on the inside. Okay, moving on. So this is another one of our largest customers, Siemens. So basically, Siemens are always producing very complex parts. They cast parts and they metal 3D print parts. But as it was discussed today, post-processing, can be a challenge both for casted parts and metal 3D printed parts. So you need to print, you need to be able to produce jigs and fixtures to enable that post-processing to be much faster. So Siemens 3D prints their jigs and fixtures, to enable this to become faster. And what they've said as a direct quote is that 3D printing jigs and fixtures has allowed them to become more flexible. They've become, much more faster and more lean. So this enables them, not only to bring products to market faster, but also to experiment because they have more time in which to create more products. Okay, moving on to the next application, inspection fixtures. So with high strength additive manufacturing, it is very easy to make bespoke assembly fixtures. So this is an example of a CMM fixture from JJ Churchill. So in order for aircraft to fly well, JJ Churchill meticulously inspects every blade of its jet engine turbine. So trying to do this traditionally, would take a lot of processing involving roughing and refining operations, which lead to slow iteration speeds. To 3D print these increases the speed that you're able to produce these CMM fixtures. And once again, you're able to bring these products to market faster. Welding shanks. So this is an example of printing with copper. As you can see, in this particular example, the weld shank took 10 weeks to create, but with Markforged, it took 1 week. The difficult thing about copper is it's very difficult to machine. People say it's like trying to machine bubblegum. Not only there's a few applications for copper. One of them is weld shanks, but we find that bus bars and heat sinks are also a very good application for 3D printing of copper and getting that complexity involved. Okay, so what you can see here is a 3D printed soft jaw. And you can also see a Markforged 3D printed metal components there. So these soft jaws are a very common application. They don't need any post-processing. They have a strength similar to aluminium. So they're very quick just to be able to produce those intricate shapes that would be very difficult to produce with CNC machining techniques. And here is an example of metal 3D printing. So, you can obviously produce end-use metal parts, but what we find is some of the best applications are in the tooling. So what you can see here are Markforged printed molds and dies. And you can also print patterns using Markforged metal technology. We have a few different metals available, but for tooling purposes, quite common is 74 pH stainless steel and a variety of tool steels. So we've got A2, D2, and H13, for different applications, including hot work, cold work, cutting tools, and dies. This is an example of one of our other customers, Göring. So Goering used to have a problem where each piece of special tooling made needed to be first designed and approved by the customer. And depending on the size and complexity of the component, special tooling can take up to 8 weeks to design, test, and manufacture in-house. So this has been significantly reduced. So now they're able to test for size and shape, I guess, by doing a quick composite print. But then they're also able to take that design and do a metal print to produce the final part. And therefore, they're able to bring products to market faster and reduce their manufacturing costs. A nice thing about this particular design is that they've been able to add internal cooling channels, which means that they can have more blades on this cutter because they're able to cool these blades much faster. Another example are patterns for material forming. So this is a customer in Australia who design, make and race cars, Formula One race cars. So they print some parts, some end-use parts with our composite technology, but they also use our composite technology to produce patterns in order to produce fiberglass parts more traditionally. So you can see the process here of design, print, vacuum form, and then use that vacuum formed blanking, I guess, to produce that final carbon fiber part. Thermoset molds. So why print one by one if you can just print a mold and then increase your production capabilities through that different process? So why people tend to like using Mark Forged for molds, for molding applications? One, the surface finish. So we do have a few different variations of surface finish, including 50 microns, and the strength. So once you've created this mold, these last for a very long time. All right, so I'm going to quickly show you a video of another one of our customers, Caldwell Engineering, and how they used 3D printing on the shop floor.
At Caldwell, we make components that go into windows and doors that are sold around the world. We've used the Markforged printers to make everything from prototype all the way through low volume production pieces, tools, and fixtures to aid in manufacturing for assembly and/or test and measurement.
In the past, an engineer would need a part made and I'd have to estimate how long it would take to machine that part. Some of those parts could have 40 hours of machining in them. Today, with the Markforged printers, an engineer will give me a drawing and the first thing that comes to my mind is I want to use the printers.
This fixture to machine traditionally would probably cost 5 times as much and take 2 weeks to manufacture. I printed it in a day and they were able to use it that same day.
This is a production assembly. This is a prototype assembly using both composite and metal 3D printers. This assembly allows you to tilt your windows in for cleaning. Having the ability to 3D print our own metal components has really improved our development process.
The similarities between what we'll print in stainless steel and what we would cast in stainless steel, it's just incredible. It's something we can get in 2 days in our own lab. The hardware we manufacture is what holds the window together structurally. And if that were to fail, it can mean severe damage to a building and major disruption for someone's life. The strength of the 3D printed parts that we get off the Markforged machines allow us to put those parts through the same set of conditions that we would test a production piece. They're real parts that have actual strength.
In this highly competitive world, you need every advantage you can get to produce the parts, do your job, have a leg up on your competition in every single part of the business possible. And 3D printing is huge to help us do that.
Okay, so moving on. So you've heard about Markforged. You heard me mention the name. That's the company I work for. But who are Markforged? Basically, Markforged are an OEM of 3D printers, 3D printing material and software. So we have the world's largest fleet of industrial 3D printers with over 12,000 printers globally in 73 countries with 10 million plus parts, in industrial environments, performing various functions. Markforged has a fair few key investors, including Microsoft, Siemens, and Porsche as strategic investors. So As I mentioned, we are the OEM of 3D printers, materials, and software. So we have a composite range, as you can see here. We produce carbon fibers, Kevlar, fiberglass, our base material, which is called Onyx, a fire retardant version of Onyx, and Onyx electrostatic discharge. We also have a metal system. So I've got a very short video that talks about our metal. So basically, our metal system is a 3-step process. You've got the print, wash, and then sinter. And what the metal system really lends itself well to is batch production. So if you're, I guess, interested in volumes and calculations of volumes, you're more than welcome to reach out to one of our partners, and one of our applications engineers will be able to go through your particular application with you. We'll move on. So that's all it from me, and I'd like to pass it back to our panelists.
Thank you very much, Anthony. That was very quick and to the point. If I have to ask you a question, which is Mr. Singh is asking, how to strengthen the material for automobile part business, and same thing I would like to pass on to Anuj, because there was another gentleman who was asking for a tractor industry. How to strengthen the material for automobile part business?
So you're asking about the applications in the automotive industry?
Automotive industry, yes.
Yeah, so there's quite a few. One of them, which is a really nice one, is transfer hangers. A lot of companies, use our 3D printers for lifting tools, as you saw in that case study there. But apart from that, jigs and fixtures, CMM fixtures, end effectors are a very common application for the automotive industry. As you know, cars these days are designed with a lot of curves, and to try and machine the jigs and fixtures that are required for the production of these curves is very difficult. So if you can use 3D printing, as I said before, complexity is free, and it's a much easier way to produce these tools.
Yes, I think Anthony has answered it very clearly that in automotive scenario also, definitely applications are much in terms of going beyond design and development as well. So we have a lot of Indian customers using 3D printer on the shop floor, where they have been using it for go-no-go gauges, checking fixtures, and assembly fixtures as well on the assembly lines. These are the prime applications which are being adopted by automotive industry in India.
Anuj, any examples on the tractor? Because that was offline question asked by from Ashok Leland. Any example that you wanted to quote from a tractor industry?
For tractor industry also, I would say the examples or the applications are going to be the similar. The only difference would be the size could be a little bit on the larger side, and the composite which we are using would be on the stronger side. Like Anthony had shown one of the examples of Wärtsilä, where they are picking up 500 plus kg load from a 3D printed fixture. So these are the kind of applications which tractor industry is also using.
Mr. Vaidya, if I can ask this, what are the key challenges in replacing conventional manufacturing process by technologies such as 3D printing?
So I have already explained, as far as the aerospace is concerned, it is the lack of standards. That's the first thing which we need to really do it. Second is the post-processing. Like most of our alloys, we look for very fine grain structure. So you must get either a fine powder, or you must have a hot isostatic pressing capabilities, so that you can further improve on that. Third is how are you going to really gain advantage of doing the 3D printing? Is it going to be further going to save your weight? Are you going to combine 2 or 3 components to go together? You must have read recently one of the startup in India. They produced the entire cryogenic engine from one single metal piece using 3D printing. Now, instead of making out of hundreds of components, one printed thing is able to give them the entire cryogenic engine, will be planned to use in one of their satellites. So, this kind of innovation, if we can bring it, it will avoid manufacturing more than 30-40 complex shape components to only printing one. So if you are very powerful in modeling, if you can choose different powders or wires which are compatible with each other to achieve different properties in different sections. And then if you are able to machine it down to the required surface finish or the accuracies, I think the 3D printing can really solve problem in many of the short volume industries like space program. I mean, nobody in the world can think of thousands of articles being sent into space like civil aviation or auto industry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vaidya. I think we have already crossed one and it's over time. We have a lot of questions from asked from our online as well as the people who have asked us offline. So we will reach out to you, and the expert from Markforged and from 4DS is going to contact and reach out to and share the best answers, which I'm sure you're looking at. I think thank you very much, dear panel members, each one of you, for your insights. The session was very much filled with insight and real life scenarios, which was shared by Anthony and much more. We really appreciate all our panel speakers, Mr. Vaidya, Mr. Pujari, Mr. Shankar Ghosh, Mr. Vikas Mishra, Anuj Budiraja, for your commitment and dedication in sharing insights in the interest of the industry. Additionally, the thought-provoking questions from the audience made the discussion very live. We hope we have learned experience, and each stakeholders of the summit has learned, from our experienced panel members. We're going to again come back on this topic because this is very engaging and lot more to be discussed. Allow us to come back with the next session on this. Till then, thank you very much, and special thanks to Neeraj, not to forget you. Thank you very much. Best of luck and be safe.